Welcome, Ram fans, to Swallowpalooza Thursday. I'm Steve Ivey, your host. I'm really excited about today's show. I have a tremendous guest who I'll bring on in a couple of minutes, and we're going to have an excellent time with a concept that was born from his brain, not from mine. Before I get started, I wanted to bring up. You always hear me whine and ask for people to subscribe. It really helps me a lot if you hit the like button, if you like what you see. I realize that I need to keep doing better and better content, and I'll get more and more likes and more subscribers. But if you're really liking what you're seeing, please subscribe to Crackers College Hoops. It doesn't cost you anything. You can get notified when I put out a video. So that would be great. The other thing is, not just subscribe, but feel free to send ideas to me for shows. Any ideas you have. This channel may be my channel, but it's our community. Remember that, my channel, our community. I'm trying to build a community for CSU men's basketball. I'm having a great time doing it. I'm having a lot of people that didn't necessarily know me, that when I walk through Moby Arena now, I had somebody actually call me a celebrity, and I started laughing. I know I'm just a guy having fun trying to build a community. I met Kyle Jorgensen's mom. She came up to me, thanked me. And so I'm really happy with what's going on. But the more and more, if you have good ideas, send them to me. And like I said, today's show is an idea from this young man. I'm going to introduce Sam Hodeling. Sam, how are you tonight?
I am tired, but doing well. How are you, Steve?
I'm doing great. Hey, before we launch into the show, I wanted people to get a chance to get to know you. Why don't you talk about, you're an East Coaster like me, but why don't you talk about what brought you to Fort Collins and what you're doing with CSU right now? Because I found it extremely interesting.
Well, I appreciate the time tonight. Appreciate all that you do for kind of the CSU basketball community. It's been something that I've sort of found myself falling into over the last 7 or 8 years as I've been working at the university. And this has been a great 5 years to get really excited and interested in CSU basketball. And so you and all the other folks that are sort of a part of that larger community that's forming, I just wanted to thank you. I'm from the Northeast originally, born in Boston, moved around a bunch, lived in Connecticut, New Mexico, a few other places, but primarily grew up outside of New York City and was just an avid college basketball fan and frankly, like a CYO high school basketball fan growing up right outside of New York City. We had a lot of really good basketball to watch, a lot of connections to, local universities like St. John's and UConn and Syracuse. And so good, Big East basketball to watch. Finished my undergrad in the Northeast. Ended up finding my way to the University of Kansas about 14 years ago.
Pretty good basketball program there, I hear.
My first year there too was a great year. It was the year that they were national title runners up to Kentucky. They had Thomas Robinson and Tyshawn Taylor and just like this really fun, group to watch. And so I got to, experience Allen Fieldhouse for a few years. Met my now wife in Kansas. We both met we were in the same graduate program. She's a huge college basketball fan, possibly bigger than I am. And she actually got an internship with City Hall here out in Fort Collins. And so I came and visited her. She was a semester ahead of me in our program. And I came and visited her in Fort Collins. And I want to say this is probably 2011, 2012. And thought, why would I move somewhere else when I could come to Fort Collins, Colorado, and kind of, we did the breweries, we biked around, we saw music, we went to Old Town, we went to Rocky Mountain National Park. It was kind of like, wait a second, there's a lot of really good stuff going on here. And so I ended up coming out and working for the city of Fort Collins for about 4 years. So I had a bunch of different jobs in a number of years, in economic health, sustainability with the city manager's office, city planning, and then started making connections at the university, realized that there was some really good things going on at CSU related to public service and public administration and public policy and some of the stuff that I'm really passionate about. And I've been at CSU now for about 7 years. The director of the Center for Public Service and Leadership in the College of Liberal Arts. I teach in the political science department. And, why wear 2 hats when you can wear 3 hats at the university? And so I've been using my employee study privilege for the last 7 years to do a PhD on the side, focusing on local government and American federalism and environmental policy and stuff like that. And so just really excited to kind of, be here at this moment. The CSU is at a really exciting university to be affiliated with. There's a lot of historic strengths that tie to things that I'm passionate about, but there's also just a lot of good stuff going on, really interesting people, creative people, sports teams like the ones that you and I are passionate about to root for and to, go to games at. And so it's just been a really fun community to immerse myself into.
Yeah, we sure are blessed with the city itself and the community and all the great people that live here. I always tell people Fort Collins has a lot of big city amenities, but a lot of small town values, and that's something that I treasure. And then obviously CSU, and I'm sure you're feeling it and seeing it with President Parsons on board now. A lot of energy and a lot of cool things happening. Well, let's get to the show tonight. Why don't you tell me how this idea was born of yours to go on a European trip?
I think this in some ways came from just observations on X, or the artist formerly known as Twitter. We were kind of observing that a bunch of former players from the CSU basketball team had recently signed contracts with European clubs. And I thought, what a cool idea it would be to fly out to Europe for a week or two and go to a bunch of these games and cities and get to see the experience that these guys are having and get a sense for what their lives look like right now. And, who better to go to Europe in the middle of the winter than Steve Ivey, a fellow huge CSU basketball fan. So today, the folks joining us are going to get to go on an incredible week-long Euro trip with Sam and Steve. It's going to be great.
So let's get going. Here we go. Steve and Sam's excellent basketball Euro trip adventure, visiting our Rams abroad. Tell me the pictures. I see a wonderful train station. Do you know where that was from? Do you remember where that was from?
I believe that's a train station in Germany, although based on the train, I want to say it also could be the UK. But okay, that's something that we'd have to look into. We'll find out. We're going to be taking buses, we're going to be taking trains, and we're going to be flying places, Steve.
Trains, planes, automobiles, huh?
Here we go. That's right.
So here we go. Let's get started. I see you booked us on Lufthansa.
So we either could start by going to the player who is the furthest to the west, or we could go by just going all the way to the east and coming back. And I figured with jet lag and things like that, it would make the most sense to go as far as we could first. And so tried to figure out who that person and player was. Looked like it was Joe Palmer, and the closest major airport to seeing Headband Joe was actually flying into Belgrade. This was from actually like 5 days ago too, Steve. And this is a legitimate screenshot from Kayak. We could fly for roughly $500 American right now with only one layover. We would fly from Denver to Munich to Belgrade, then get on a bus, and then boom, we are in a small town. Let me pronounce this correctly. This is Vršac, Serbia. Joe is playing for KK Vršac. The current sponsor is Meridian Bet, which is a casino and online betting company. The metropolitan area of this city, as you can see, it's a beautiful kind of rural region, old architecture. The metropolitan area is actually only about 45,000. It's very close to the border of Romania. Joe is currently playing really well. He's averaging about 27 minutes, a little over 12 points, close to 4 rebounds, and close to 2.5 assists in the 5 games they've had so far. They are a member of the Adriatic League, and actually have competed quite well in the Adriatic League. Most recently were the Adriatic League regular season champion this past year, as well as the tourney champion. And so would be a really fun place to visit. I think that we'll have a chance to hear from Joe himself about his experience. Steve, is that correct?
Yeah. So what struck me is the metro area, about 45,000. That's smaller than Loveland, isn't it?
It is smaller. It's about half the size of Loveland. I mean,
isn't that amazing?
Fort Collins is about 175,000 with a metropolitan area of about 350,000. I mean, this is a metro area of 45,000. It is like I said, a really rural, looks like kind of mountainous region, and just this tiny kind of beautiful old city, which I'm really excited to explore with you.
Well, can you get us checked into the hotel? I'm an old man. I got to get my legs moving and maybe go grab a cup of coffee. Do you mind checking us into the hotel? I'm just going to wander for a little bit. Is that good?
I'm going to head to the pub and then get us checked in. I'll see you in a little bit.
There you go. Well, here I am. I'm out wandering. There we go. I'm just gonna walk around. I got my map out. Going to find a local coffee shop. Turn the corner. So while Sam is getting us checked into the room in Serbia, I'm going out for a walk, and oh my God, I'm on the street, and who do I run into? It's Joe Palmer. Joe, how the heck are you?
I'm doing good. It's good to see you. It's been a while.
Yeah, it has been. We did run into each other about a month ago at a CSU practice. Yep. And and you told me you thought you were heading to Australia, and then a week later I found out you were over in Serbia and already playing. We'll talk about that in a minute. But what's Serbia like? How's it going? Just moving to Serbia? What's it been like for you?
It's different. It's definitely it's been a culture shock, to say the least. It's definitely slower pace out here. People do things differently. A lot of coffee drinkers, so that's right up my alley. I love that part. But it's just man, how do I put it? It's like I said, just slower, but people are very, very genuine. They look kind of mean at first. It's intimidating. Like you're like thinking like Nikola Jokic. Sometimes he looks intimidating, but he's actually a really nice guy. That's most of the Serbian people. It's like once you talk to them, they'll help you out. So,
yeah, I always thought that area of the country it features the bad guys in the Taken movies with Liam Neeson. All the guys that look like that. But that's good to hear. What city are you in Serbia? Where is it relative to the bigger cities in Serbia?
I'm in Vršac, it's called. So it's about an hour and 30 minutes east of Belgrade. It's like right next to the Romanian border. So like I'm like 40 minutes away from the Romanian border. So it's definitely an interesting place out here.
Have you had a chance to see any of the sites or get to know the area, or has it just been all basketball?
No, I've definitely gotten to. We'll usually have like Sundays off, so I've been going and checking it out. We're in like a little mountain, so it's pretty cool. So I just like climbed up the mountain and people paraglide off the top. So I was watching people do that, so that was fun. And just like the churches and the cathedrals, there's Orthodox and Catholic cathedrals, but they're both like just beautiful, and you can go inside them, so it's really fun.
Are you into architecture at all?
Yeah, I love it. I took a trip this summer to Vienna with Rashawn. So me and my girlfriend went with Rashawn and stayed with Rashawn for a week and a half. So that was like when I was like, holy smokes, we saw Stephansplatz. It's the big cathedral in Vienna. And I was like, wow, this is beautiful. And then so when I was coming to Serbia, I was like, I hope there's places like that. And there is. So it's really cool.
Now, you guys, if I'm correct, Serbia is pretty landlocked. It's not on the. Do they have anything that's on the coast, or is it? It's separated by things like
separated. So it's because it used to be obviously Yugoslavia. So it's like it's the Baltic countries. But yeah, no, there's no ocean or anything like that, which is kind of tough. Serbia is great. The people are good. It's a tougher place to play in your first year for rookies. People warned me, they said, so I knew going into it what was happening. It just all happened literally so fast. So it was how it happened. So it's crazy.
So tell us about what local cuisine, what kind of foods do you eat? Are there some things that are local dishes that you're enjoying, or
idea. It's been good. Honestly, it's a lot of like pork and like basically the way it's like Salisbury steak. It's basically that is like the bit like the best out here. It's like a lot of like I don't know. Again, I don't know how to call them. I've just been calling it a hot pocket, but it's like a really good because it's like everywhere you go, like every corner shop has a bakery, so they just have those little hot pockets. It's full of like meat and vegetables and stuff. So I just get those a lot. So, but yeah, other than that though, the food here has been good. I've been happy about the food.
Yeah, it's it's always interesting. I've done a lot of traveling to Europe. I haven't been to Serbia. That's why we were, Sam and I were so excited about taking this virtual trip, and it's fun to hear about the foods. I've been spent a lot of time in Germany, France, Spain, Italy, UK, and I love German food. And I assume you have some stuff that's pretty similar to German food.
Oh yeah. Some schnitzel. So schnitzel. Yeah, I love it.
I'm a big fan of schnitzels.
Yeah.
So let's talk basketball. Tell me about the team you're on. Tell me how things are going.
Yeah. No, the team's great. We're really so our team's very good. We're second in the league right now. So we have there's 20 something, 22, 23, 24 teams, something like that. So it's a big and so we are second right now. We're 4-1, and we play the third ranked team this weekend. So it's going to be a big time matchup. And I've been playing really well, like individually. So that's been a huge boost of confidence. I've been loving that and stuff, and just like having that experience out here has been so great. The European style fits my game a lot better. It's a little slower. It's more, cutting. It's more catch and shoot and stuff like that. So that it definitely fits my game. But our team's very good too. We have probably our best player is his name is Nemanja Popovic, and he was a former NBA Without Borders guy. So he's really really good. He played for, I don't know if you ever heard of Red Star. They're one of the EuroLeague teams out of Serbia.
Belgrade, right?
Correct. So he was playing. He still is with Red Star, but he's just here on a loan. So he's here on assignment. So he's been fun to play with. He's our center. So you just throwing it at him. It's like throwing it into Pat or Joel again. So he's been fun to play with.
Is it similar? My knowledge is kind of limited about European basketball, but I know they structured the leagues a lot like the soccer leagues. Is it typically one game a week, and then do you do any midweek competitions, tournament competitions, and the like?
Yeah. So our team, we were a part of the Adriatic League. So it's so the same league that like Josiah's in. Chad Moki, one of Pat's good friends. So I kind of, I've been keeping in touch with them because we were actually in the same like division. But our team ended up dropping out of the Adriatic League. So we were in the Adriatic League 2, and we ended up dropping out for some weird reason. They still can't explain it to me why. There's still a big language barrier. So it's been, they speak English, but it's broken English. So it's hard to understand sometimes what they're really trying to say. But so we don't have midweek games. It's just one game a week on Saturday and just practice. That's a lot of practice. So it's taxing on the body a little bit, but that's why I think Europeans, you'll see Europeans, the NBA and stuff, and they thrive just because they prioritize practice over playing a game. So
I always like practice, but games are sure a lot more fun. Now, you talked a little bit about the style of play. Is it a lot different than what the style of play was in Division I and especially CSU?
Yeah, it's a lot different. It's more obviously there's less structure. At CSU we're very we have such a great system, and it's hard to learn the system. It took me a while to learn CSU system, but once you learn the CSU system, there's so much fluidity and so much freedom within the structure at CSU. And when you're overseas, you don't have, you're usually not at a place for more than a year, so it's like they don't have time to like teach you a whole offensive scheme and system. So it's just all pick and roll. it's great. It's a lot of like Spain action and whatnot, and just everything, pick and roll, constant pick and roll. So that's fun to play, and I've been able to play a little bit more, on the ball, just because I don't have Isaiah Stevens on the team, so so that's been fun to kind of play with the ball. Right, exactly. But no, that's why I was just like, I'd see it looking at my time and stuff like that. Like, sometimes people are like, well, how come, why didn't you go and get the ball more? I was like, well, let me put on a coaching hat here for a second. If I was the coach of this team, would I rather have Isaiah Stevens coming off of a ball screen or myself? I was like, probably Isaiah Stevens. Would I rather have Neek Clifford running in transition or me? Probably Neek. Would I rather have Joel or Pat getting a post up? Or it's like probably Joel and Pat, So I understand it. Our team was, so good and stuff like that. And so you just had to carve out a role, or I had to carve out a different role. But that's where it's been fun coming back and taking on a bigger role overseas. It's been fun.
Do you have are there any other Americans on your team?
There is, yeah. So we have two guys. One of them went to Midwestern State, is in Texas. Other one went to Montana State Billings, and then the other guy, he's American, but he has a French passport as well. He played at Nevada actually for 2 years, and then at UC Davis. So he played for Steve Alford.
That's Cade Millen, right?
Cade Millen, yep.
We saw him play. He
player.
actually, the year before you got there, it was actually the COVID year. They made CSU play they scheduled a game right at the end of the season because so many games had been canceled in COVID, and they thought they needed to decide a conference championship. And it was Isaiah and David's sophomore year, and CSU was tied for first, and they scheduled a game at the last second against Nevada at Nevada. And it was like the fifth game in 8 days, and CSU lost on a buzzer beater. Milling actually had one of the best games he's ever had, and he made a bunch of threes, and he was actually the reason we lost that game. He helped them come from behind. So I don't know if he shared that story with you, but I remember that one.
I'll have to bring it up to him. Yeah, I'll bring it up to him today.
That knocked CSU out of the NCAAs that year. They ended up being the first team out, and that's when they went to the semis in the NIT when they lost to Memphis. I
didn't know that. I'm going to dinner after this, and I'm going to go talk to him about it. So
yeah, Grant Sherfield hit the three at the buzzer, but Milling made a bunch of shots that game. That's all I remember. So anyway, yeah. So so that's cool. Let's just wrap. You spent enough time. I got to get back to the room and tell Sam all the exciting stuff I got to do meeting up with you.
Yeah.
Why don't you let's wrap up. Just tell us here. Just kind of reflect back on your career at CSU. I know I ran into you on your recruiting visit in the summer before you came the year before. So 2 years ago. And we got to know each other, and let's reflect on your career at CSU, and especially the past year. Tell us about what your thoughts are.
Grateful doesn't even grateful, appreciative. I don't know. I can't even think of any other words, but just like how everyone just put me under everyone took me in so well. And was there for me throughout it all. Coach Medved just giving me a chance. You know what I mean? I'm sure, they heard, oh my gosh, a D3 kid. What are we doing? You know what I mean? So I'm sure there's a lot of but anyway, I just my time at CSU changed my life, like the outcome of my life. So I'm super appreciative. I'm super indebted to, all coaches, Coach Medved, Aaron Katsuma, Coach Jones, Ali, Cooley, CJ, Shelton, everyone. Too many names. But it just it helped put me on a different route in my life that I never thought possible. And CSU gave me that. So it's just and so many lifelong connections too. And like even like stuff with you and stuff like that. I see you around, I see you in the gym. It's just like just such great genuine conversations and genuine relationships created through CSU, and I'll never, I'll have those the rest of my life, which I love. And then that last year, man, that was special. This is my dream to play March Madness, and it was stressful. Selection Sunday, though, it stressed me out, but we made it, and not the way we wanted it to end, but looking back on it, Pat and I were talking earlier. We're just like, man, we just miss. I just miss seeing the guys. I miss being in the locker room, hanging out at the house, just being in Fort Collins. Like, I miss it all. I love it so much. And as soon as I'm done here, I'll be back in Fort Collins. So you guys can't get rid of me. Can't get rid of me yet.
Get back to that wonderful Fort Collins cuisine, right?
Oh yes, absolutely.
Well, your legacy at CSU is great. Obviously, people know you as Headband Joe, and of course, you can see my I have my logo, which features the official Joe Palmer headband. I'm very proud to be an owner of that. But my memories will always be great too. Getting to know you. You use the word genuine, and the one thing I found is you've always been a very just genuine, straight up person. I'll never forget the CU game when you went off, and then obviously I'll never forget the Mountain West Conference tournament game against San Jose State when you went off as well. And that was critical, a game that we basically had to win. And you were the one that put us kind of over the top with your play. And so I'll never forget that. So it's been it was a heck of a career you had at CSU, coming from a D3 school, and you really made your mark for all of us. And I'm sure Ram fans are very appreciative of what you did for the team while you were there. And I'm sure they're very appreciative of me running into you while in Serbia on our virtual trip.
Oh yeah.
So thank you for taking the time. I appreciate it. Any other final words for Ram fans?
No, I appreciate you. I appreciate everyone. I appreciate you, Steve. I mean, this is great what you're doing. I love this stuff. So I'm just, again, grateful, appreciative, and just so lucky to have all these great relationships with CSU people. So I love it.
Well, Joe, good luck for the rest of the season. Let's make sure we keep in touch. If there's anything you need or anything you want to talk about, let me know. You know where to find me. Thanks again.
Absolutely. Thanks, Steve. See you soon.
Well, that was an amazing thing that I was able to do, run into Joe Palmer. Sam, I'm sorry you weren't with me. Any thoughts on anything that Joe said that struck you?
So many. I mean, I'm not even sure where to start. I mean, right off the bat, you used the word genuine. He used the word genuine. I think he used the word graciousness too, describing his experience in Fort Collins and at CSU. And those are the type of leaders that we're trying to curate through the center that I run at CSU. So when he said, "Hey, I think I'm coming back to Fort Collins," I'm thinking, well, if he's going to be a graduate assistant in a couple of years, maybe he would be a great candidate for our Masters of Public Policy and Administration program as a future leader of a university program, or as a coach or something like that. So I'm thinking, one, I'm excited to see Joe back in Fort Collins at some point, and two, what an incredible experience he's having in Serbia, and how what an amazing way to both play the game that you love and also explore the world simultaneously and get sort of that cultural immersion. Really exciting stuff.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of funny. He told the story of going to Vienna with Rashawn and seeing a great cathedral, and he talked about seeing a cathedral in Serbia. That's some of the architecture that I've seen. Like I said, I haven't been to Serbia, but it's some of the architecture is just amazing, and it's just beautiful and fantastic. And that's something I treasure. Well, let's get going back on our trip. Where are we going next?
So we're gonna go see Josiah play, and we are actually just going to rent a car because I looked into a couple of different travel options, and I realized that we could go through, a real sort of key part of the former Yugoslavia, go from Serbia into Bosnia and Herzegovina, and pass through Sarajevo, pass through Belgrade, a bunch of other historic cities. It's going to take us a little over 8 hours, probably closer to 12 or 14 hours, because I'm guessing you and I are going to want to stop. We're going to want to see some architecture, take some pictures, probably going to want to eat some of that good food that Joe was just talking about. I love bakeries personally, and anywhere where you can just pop into a bakery and grab some fresh grub. probably going to need to check that out. Unfortunately, might have to come back and go on a diet, but that's okay. That's what these Euro trips are for. We're going to have as much fun as possible. And so where are we going to be to see Josiah? Let's see.
Hey, before we arrive,
yeah,
Sarajevo was 1984 Winter Olympics. We're not going to run into snow on the drive, are we?
It is winter right now. We might have to make sure that we have all-wheel drive vehicle, something good, some good tires. We'll pay the extra premium for that.
There you go. Let's plan ahead. So here we go. Let's go see Josiah.
So Josiah is living in a city called Soroki Brij, which is in Bosnia and Herzegovina. He's playing for HKK Soroki. It's actually TT Kabeli is their former sponsor. I learned this evening when I was doing a little bit of additional research. This is the regional capital of West Herzegovina. The metro area is about 30,000. Loved this fact. The town itself has a population of 6,000, and the basketball arena in the town holds 4,500. So when they sell out games, they have almost the entire population of the town coming and seeing them play. They are described as one of the most successful clubs in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Josiah is averaging 17 minutes, about 6 points, close to 2 rebounds, and 1.5 assists in league play. He did drop 17 points in an ABA game earlier in this year. I think they've played similar to Joe. It looks like they played maybe 5 or 6 games. They are the Bosnia and Herzegovina league champion from a number of years, most recently 21, and the regular season champion most recently in 2023, and was in the Adriatic League 2 semifinals in 2022 and 2023. I mean, talk about another gorgeous city. I mean, I think we just went from one sort of rural and mountainous part of former Yugoslavia to another. But I mean, I'm looking at this picture here of what this city looks like. And to me, it looks like a combination of Game of Thrones meets Lord of the Rings meets every sort of fantasy I've ever had about what beautiful cities in Europe look like. And I'm very excited to explore this city with you, Steve.
I want to grab a kayak and go down that river. That looks like fun.
That is,
like
I mean, talk about what a unique
splitting the town and
with bridges over it and gorgeous architecture and mountains in the background. And so, the start of this trip is really sort of I think we're going to be experiencing slightly different cities than we are later in the trip when we go to some pretty large metropolitan areas.
Yeah, this is sensational. This is my kind of place. You know, my wife and I went to British Columbia over the summer, late summer, and we had the most fun in a little city, a little town of 1,500 people on the west coast of Vancouver Island, a little town named Euclid. And it was the middle of nowhere, so much the middle of nowhere that they had signs up that said they told you what to do in case of a tsunami. So you're at the end of the earth. I love it. This is my kind of place. So anyway, let's get ready to travel again. Where are we going next?
So we're going to be actually taking a plane. We're going to be going and seeing our friend Joel Scott in Germany. And so we are going to head over back. We're going to drive back over to Sarajevo. We are going to fly to Stuttgart, which is it looks like roughly southwestern Germany. And Joel is playing in a town which is about 10 miles, I think, north of Stuttgart. He's playing for Riesen Ludwigsburg. That's actually Ludwigsburg. The Eurobasket website I was looking at had the wrong name. But Riesen, I discovered, is a chocolate company. So I think of all the sponsors that our friends in Europe are playing for, I think this is probably going to be my favorite. Ludwigsburg has around 94,000 residents, but it's just actually 7 miles north of Stuttgart, which has a population of 2.8 million. So we're talking large metropolitan area. The club was founded in 1960. Joel is playing really well. He's averaging 27 minutes, 12 points, and 4.3 rebounds a game in Euro Cup action, and 8.1 points and 4.6 rebounds in league play. Also is playing next to former Wyoming great Hunter Maldonado. They're both starting, it looks like, right now, which that would be really kind of fun for us as Mountain West fans to see multiple
we would
Mountain
have to
West
root
players.
for Hunter, but the other part about Hunter, he's from Colorado Springs like Joel, so I'm sure they know each other really well. I'm sure he's having a great time with Hunter.
Exactly, and I mean, he was so easy to root against because he was so good at Wyoming that this is actually going to have a little bit of probably relief to be able to watch the two of them play together, hopefully play well, and be able to root for him a little bit as a Colorado guy. So this team has been quite dominant at times. They were the German Bundesliga finalist in 2020 and the regular season champion as recently as 2021. This was one of the photos I found online, as you can see. It is a beautiful sort of winter scene, almost looks like a medieval city with snow on the rooftops and, lit up with Christmas lights. And I'm really excited about checking out this part of Germany. I want to check out the food. I hear there's pretty good beer in this part of Germany too.
That's what they say.
I am, as someone who's, really excited about the future of these Euro trips with you to see former CSU basketball players, the fact that Denver now has direct flights to both Frankfurt and Munich bodes well for us to be able to go out and see Joel in the future.
There you go.
So CSU fans, you heard it here first. There are direct flights to Southern Germany, and you could, hop on a train and go see our friend Joel Scott play. And
it's a pretty easy drive from Frankfurt to Stuttgart is a pretty easy drive, 2 hours down the Autobahn at about 100 miles an hour. So I've done the trip quite a bit. I used to spend a lot of time in a small city named Berblingen, which is a suburb of Stuttgart. That's where Hewlett Packard had their major European headquarters. Berblingen is also the headquarters for Mercedes-Benz. So you'd see these big lots of cars that were built. The architecture there, very Gothic. It's beautiful. I love the city of Stuttgart, but there's some great small cities within an hour of there that would be fun to visit. I've been to Heidelberg, which is one of the great cities of all time in Europe. University town, beautiful plaza, unbelievable castle to go visit as well. And then there's some other great little small towns nearby, right outside of Stuttgart. So fun trip, fun place to visit. I don't drink beer anymore. In the olden days, I did, and I've had many a good beer in that particular area. So where are we headed next?
We are headed to the Netherlands. We are heading to a city called Leiden. And we are going to go see our friend Pat Cartier. And this is the one part of the trip where we were going to actually be able to take one of those infamous train rides. The whole shtick with these Euro trips is that you get to get a train pass and you can just ride the rails across Europe for fairly cheap. And it's very, very efficient and effective. And you and I are going to take a train to Leiden.
I am so excited to be doing that. The only concern I have is we got to cross the border. And, I've seen enough of those old World War II movies where, when you have to show your passport and the guy looks at you smoking a cigarette and goes, "Your papers are not in order." Yeah. I'm nervous. So let's make sure we have our passports ready to go.
We'll make sure we have all the paperwork and the correct tickets, because the last thing we want is to have the wrong ticket and get booted off the train for not having a ticket. So we'll have it all in order, and we will see Pat. This is, as I mentioned earlier, we're starting to go up in size in terms of population. This is not an area that is as big as sort of the Stuttgart metro area. However, Leiden is an interesting city because it's really dense, really old, really beautiful. It's kind of a port town. Population is about 127,000. Metro area, it says 366,000. So pretty close to the metro area of Fort Collins. But it's only 12 miles north of The Hague or 25 miles south of Amsterdam. So it's in this incredible sort of part of the Netherlands. Really dense, lots of folks. What is it known for? I love this fun fact. It's known for hosting the Pilgrims for prior to heading to Massachusetts, and also has been sort of a cultural and economic epicenter in that part of the Netherlands for medicine, textiles, publishing, and more. Pat is playing really well. He is averaging 28 minutes, 11.2 points, and 5.4 rebounds. This is a team that's been pretty competitive in their league. In fact, they won their league last year. They were league champions actually in 2022 and 2023. Zorg, ZZ stands for Zorg and Zeikerheid, which is a health insurance company. And I'm really excited to hear, what Pat's doing out there. This is, talk about a cool place to live with the canals and the architecture and the culture and it sounds like there's a big university there, lots of commerce. I wonder how he's doing. Let's,
maybe... So let me, if you don't mind, I need to get another cup of coffee, man. Do you mind checking us into the hotel?
I'll go check us into the hotel.
And I'm going to look up. I'm going to see, since we're in the Netherlands, I'm going to see if if I can get an Americano at Dutch Brothers. So here I go. Let's I'll see you in a little bit. So here I am, kind of walking the streets in the Netherlands. Look who I ran into. I ran into Patrick Cartier. Patrick,
Steve,
how
how's it
are
going?
you doing, my man?
I'm doing good. It's great to see you. Obviously, it's been a while since I've been in Fort Collins and everything, but it's good to see a familiar face.
Yo, it's so cool to see you. So you're over in the Netherlands playing professionally.
Yep.
What's the name? What can you pronounce the name of the city you're living in? And
yes, so yeah, I'm actually living. So the team I play for is in Leiden, which is about 30-minute drive from Amsterdam. But I'm living in a city that's probably like 10-15 minutes outside of it called Warmond. I live living on a canal, which is gorgeous, and there's a lot of water, a lot of biking. It's a great place to be for sure.
Do you have a bike? Do you ride?
I actually did. So that's how I got around in Fort Collins the last couple of years. I didn't have a car, so I biked everywhere, and then I did purchase just a few weeks ago. I purchased a bike because the bike paths here are amazing. So yeah, it's fun.
Every time I've never been. That's one of the few places in Europe I've never been. That's why I'm so excited to visit the city you're in.
Yes,
But you read about the Netherlands, and they are crazy about biking. So that's
Yes.
great. If I were to, if anybody was to come take a trip to Europe and visit your area, what kind of places would they want to visit? What kind of local tourist stops are there that you think are interesting?
So yeah, I would say you definitely have to go to Amsterdam. The canals and just like the different. Not that I'm like an architecture expert by any means, but the style of buildings, and then you can do like canal tours and stuff, is super unique to this area of the world. And like we talked about, the biking and the windmills are really cool. So you got to go to Amsterdam. There's like the Anne Frank House. There's like a Van Gogh Museum. There's so many different restaurants and things to do in Amsterdam that I've been able to check out thus far. And then Leiden it's a university town. So there's a bunch of good food, and there are canals here too, as well. So it's just walking around, getting a vibe, grabbing a coffee, getting a croissant, doing all those European things you can do here.
That sounds like fun. Like I said, I've never had the opportunity. I've been to a lot of countries in Europe via business, but I never made it to the Netherlands. I know my wife did when she was 16. She went on a trip with a friend, and they made it over to Amsterdam. How's the local food? Any favorite types of food there?
So they have, because the Dutch were big like colonizers back in the day, in like Indonesia and just different parts of the world. They have really good like Thai food. So they have like Indonesian food and like Thai food. So the Thai food here is really good. I've had some really good Thai. The Dutch, they have a couple signature dishes. My favorite dessert is called an oliebollen, which is basically, if you've ever been to like New Orleans, they have the beignets there. It's like It's very similar to that. It's like kind of like a powdered donut, if I had to compare it to something. So yeah, I would say Thai food, and then that dessert and oliebollen are probably two of my favorites.
Well, that sounds like fun. Are you enjoying living over there? I know it's obviously different from where you grew up in Wisconsin, obviously different than Colorado. Are you enjoying it?
Right. No, it's amazing. It's very nice because everyone here speaks English, which is obviously huge when you're having a little bit of a culture shock and just being in a different environment like this, first time living outside the U.S. It's very nice to be able to just go up to people on the street if you're lost, or if you have a question, just being able to speak speak your own language to them. So that part's amazing. And then my girlfriend of 7+ years actually also is out here too. She just got a job in Amsterdam, so she just got out here a month ago, and she's been working, and that part has been amazing just to be able to experience this new chapter in my life and our lives together. So it's been great.
That's awesome. So the last question, just about local. You've talked about all the other things like the canals and windmills, fields of tulips.
Not yet. I'm waiting for the spring for the tulips to start blooming. But they do have a really cool market on Wednesdays and Saturdays, and they have flower shops, and flowers are really cheap here too. So they have great roses, sunflowers, and all that stuff. And then obviously springtime. I'm excited to check out the tulip fields and all that.
What's the weather like now? Is it kind of cool and overcast?
Yeah, so we've had a couple of weeks where it's been really, really rainy, but for the most part, yeah, it's kind of overcast and it's starting to get a little cooler. It's been in like the 50s and 60s the last couple of weeks, but it's going to start getting colder and rainier as we get further into the fall and winter. But
yeah, we just transitioned in Colorado from an unbelievable fall where it was about 75 every day, and now it's cold and cloudy, and it's about to snow.
Oh man, that's crazy.
So let's switch gears. Let's find out. Let's catch up with what's going on professionally with you in the Netherlands. Tell me about your team. Any other Americans on the team, and tell me about your role on the team.
Yeah, so we actually have 5 imports, which is kind of a lot for overseas teams. So we have 4 Americans, which I'm obviously one of, and then one person from Canada. So it's kind of basically 5 Northern Americans, I guess, on the team. And something that has been a big adjustment for me thus far is that I've been playing more of the 4 position, whereas obviously at Colorado State I was playing mostly the 5, and at my Division II school, Hillsdale College, I was playing the 5 mostly too. So that part's been an adjustment, just defensively and offensively, just learning how to just space the floor more and play a little bit more on the perimeter, and still taking advantage on the inside and just guarding smaller guys too. So that's been an adjustment. But I have a really big role in the team. I've had some games where I've scored 20+ points, so that's been fun. Of just continuing to find my rhythm and, like I said, get used to the new position and just get used to the guys and all that. But it's been great. It's a great organization, and it's good people. So
is there a difference in the style of play in the European Professional League you're in versus what you're used to at the D1 level?
I definitely, especially like the offense we run. It's a lot of just like kind of spread the floor and run like single high ball, like the 5 and the 1 just run single high ball screen for pretty much every team, and then everyone else kind of just plays off of that. Whereas like at Colorado State, we have kind of that more motion offense where there's like a pattern to it, and there's different screening actions, whether it's like a flare screen or whatever it may be, and more set plays. Whereas here, it's like every team has like 3 or 4 set plays that they really go to, and then they all kind of end up with the 5-man setting the ball screen for the 1. So just that part of it is just a lot of pick and roll is I guess the biggest difference.
Has it been an adjustment for you, or is it just something you're pretty comfortable doing just because of your background?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely an adjustment. I think how Medved coaches us and the basketball IQ that it requires to play at Colorado State definitely helped me make an adjustment to whatever offense it was going to be. So that like understanding it was pretty simple for me, I would say, but actually like doing it and just building kind of new habits and getting used to new teammates and all that stuff definitely takes time. So, yeah.
So my understanding of just basic European basketball and European leagues is that they structure them a lot like the professional soccer leagues in terms of, 1 game a week, maybe on the weekends. And then, then you do tournament stuff. Is that how your thing is structured?
Yeah. So my team, ZZ Leiden or ZZ Leiden, we last year we were played in one of those international or inter-country leagues on Wednesdays or in the middle of the week, and then played in our domestic league on the weekends. But this year they expanded it where it's the BNXT league, so it's all the Belgium teams and the Dutch teams combined into one league. So our schedule expanded a little bit, so we opted out of doing any international competition because we have a pretty full schedule. So so far, we've pretty much we've had 1-2 game week, but it's been mostly 1 game weeks. But then I think later in the season, like after Christmas, it's going to be a lot more 2 game weeks.
How long does the season run? How many games?
Our league play is about, I believe it's 36 games, but it's like you said, it's super spread out because it's only like 1 game a week. So obviously I got here in August, and our season's going to go all the way till early June. So it's like it's like longer than NBA season when you like kind of map it out. So it's pretty crazy with less games, obviously, but that part is different too.
So I got to ask you another question. I ran into JD Page at a practice about 2 weeks ago. I don't know if you remember JD, but he's kind of in between teams right now, and I said, "How you doing?" He was great, just waiting to find out. And I said, "How does that work?" He goes, "Well, they call you and you leave right away." I said, "It's like the portal, right?" And he goes, "It's way faster than the portal."
Yeah,
what was your experience like that, where you just had to just immediately jump?
So JD, obviously, if it sounds like what I think you're saying is like just a couple weeks ago you saw him, so that probably is that because his timeline was pushed back because everyone's kind of in their season already. So then he really goes right away. I found out probably, so I left to come over here. What was it, like August, like 11th or 12th or something like that? And I probably knew like 1 or 2 weeks in advance. So I knew I would be going around the time, but I didn't know for sure where or what team. But it does move very quickly. And obviously in the transfer portal, you get to maybe do a couple visits, but that's not really a thing for overseas. You kind of just make your decision and hope it works out, I guess.
Sounds like you're really happy over there, though. Sounds like things are working out for you.
No, it's amazing. It's a great organization. You know, sometimes with overseas, you hear about guys not getting paid on time or just different kind of crap that you have to deal with people in the organization. But it's really good people here, good coaches, good teammates, and it's a great city and it's a great place to be. So I really have no complaints.
So one final question about professional stuff in the Netherlands. Are you a big follower of the Eredivisie, and do you have a soccer team you follow?
I do. So I very loosely follow the Premier League just because at my old school I had a bunch of my teammates who were super involved with that. So I know like Ajax just played Feyenoord the other day, which is like their El Clasico or whatever in Dutch, whatever it is. So I know that game just happened, and Ajax is obviously the kind of the premier team in the Netherlands, but I haven't followed too closely the soccer.
Well, who's your Premier League team?
I'm afraid to tell you. I like Man City, but that was mostly just I was mostly just to aggravate my teammates because they were good and they were always winning, and they obviously have like all the money in the world. So, but I know that's like a taboo thing to say you're a fan of them.
I'm a United fan.
Yeah, that's right.
I've been a United fan since I was about 12 years old, so
wow.
A long time, and it's a very painful time. So one more quick thing before I let you go. This has been great. Let's just reflect back on your 2 years at CSU, and especially last year. Just final thoughts about what you went through last year with last year's team.
It was really amazing, especially I think my first year was, the first year that was the year right after Roddy left and everything, and kind of just not that we like rebuild it necessarily, but just having a year where we were a little more down than I guess the program was used to, and just seeing us, bring in some reinforcements and some new guys and kind of put together the type of season we had last year, where obviously the start we got to was awesome and struggled a little bit in conference, but coming out with a NCAA tournament win is like every kid's dream, right? I just think back to after we beat Virginia and just getting on the plane and doing that in front of all your fans and stuff is really special, and having the people with you that got you to that point is special. But then just getting on the plane with those guys and just being like, I just remember feeling like I was like an 8-year-old kid, just like giddy, like goofing around, and like that type of thing is so special. And just the culture that Medved has built, where you kind of feel like you're part of something that's way, way bigger than yourself. And, you have all these people relying on you, and you're doing it with a group of your best friends, it's really special. And it's such a special program. And like I said, the culture is just amazing. So definitely, especially as the games are starting to feel almost like a feeling of like nostalgia, and definitely start to miss it of the fans, Moby Madness, and just all the people that you've met, even though I was only there for 2 years, but you still build so many relationships with your teammates and just people in the community. So can't wait to continue to watch them have success and going forward. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I just reflecting back, I remember bumping into you in Dayton after the win, and we had a nice little friendly chat.
Yeah.
It was an amazing, just an amazing environment, and from a fan perspective, it was a very fun team to be involved with. The other thing, I wanted to mention to you specifically, because I had Brian Cooley on a couple of shows ago. And I told him, I said, I actually rewatched the video of the Virginia game. And I think one of the most underrated parts of that game was the interior defense that you played. And I said specifically, the progress you made from your first year to your second year at CSU in terms of your ability to really clog up the paint was remarkable. And that was it was kind of an unrecognized part of why the team really took off from year one to year two, why they made such a big leap. And I just wanted to share that and compliment you, because Brian said, well, there was some coaching there, but Pat really worked hard to make himself stronger and just make himself better. And a lot of it was just Pat working hard and making it happen. So that was just something I wanted to share with you. Any other final words before I let you go?
No, like you said, it was great running into you. I look forward to watching the guys this year. Obviously, still have a bunch of former teammates and close friends on the team. So it's gonna be a fun season, and Moby Madness is gonna be rocking like it always is. And Fort Collins is a special place. Glad I got to be a part of it.
Well, thanks, Pat. It was great to run into you. Good luck
sir.
to you the rest of the season. Let's keep in touch and don't be a stranger. Let's make sure we get back together again real soon.
Sounds good, Steve. Sounds good. Great to see you.
You bet. Thanks, Pat.
Awesome. Bye.
Any thoughts about that, Sam? I was so lucky to run into him. I wish you could have been with me.
That was such a good conversation. He's such a nice, smart kid, and it's really exciting to hear about sort of his experience out there. I'd love to pick up one of those. I think he said it was an Oli Bolin. Was that the delicacy, the dessert? And I mean, talk about a long season. He's right. The NBA goes from roughly October to June if you're lucky and you're playing in the playoffs. And they're going August to June. I mean, that's a 10-month season right there. And that's pretty impressive. So, I mean, if we want to go back sometime later in the spring and check out those tulips and, see what spring is like across much of Europe, maybe we'll have, an opportunity to do a second trip here.
Yeah, he seems like he's having just an unbelievable time over there. He's loving it. So, the one thing that I really liked that he said when we closed was he was talking about his experience at CSU and talking about the culture under Coach Medved. Yeah. And the thing that struck me was, talking about something bigger than the individual, where, you have a part in it, but you're building something that is bigger than just you alone, and you have teammates and you've got goals and all that kind of stuff. And that to me is what the CSU program is all about. And to me, that was Coach Nico Medved in a nutshell with the way he leads. So anyway,
I forget whose show it was that I heard Nico say this, but they were talking about sort of like long-term, like what's a metric of success for you? And like, I think they were expecting him to say something like, 8 straight trips to March Madness or something like that. And his response was so interesting. It was, when people come to Fort Collins, is the community predisposed in a way where one of the things that you would hear is, hey, we have great breweries, we have great bike lanes, we're right outside of the Rocky Mountains, we're a great basketball town. He was like, are we going to be known as a basketball community? And I really think that's what he's building, and he's building it with people like Pat. He's finding talent in all sorts of places and bringing it together on the team, and then trying to find a way to get that team to congeal. And that's what we're going to see over the next few weeks and months with the new squad. And so it was fun to see it a few years ago when we lost David. We thought David might be coming back, but then Pat came in and a bunch of other guys, and we got to see the process continue. And now we're seeing it again this year. And so it's fun to be a part of that. And it's fun to see his passion and enthusiasm for being someone who was a part of that before. It's just so contagious, and we're just lucky. We are.
Yeah, you're absolutely spot on. Well, we gotta wrap up our trip, don't we?
We do.
Gotta get moving. We gotta go. We got one more stop. Where are we headed?
We are flying to Lisbon, Portugal, to see Nico Carvalho, and so it looks like it's about a 3-hour flight from Amsterdam and Leiden, and then Nico is playing for Sports Lisboa Benfica, which. If you recognize that name, it's because there is about 10 different sport teams with that same name, including a football club, a soccer club. But he is not playing on the football soccer club. Unsurprisingly, Nico is playing for the basketball team. Lisbon is the capital of Portugal. It's got close to 600,000 residents in the city itself and almost 3 million in the metropolitan area. Nico is putting up numbers that you and I are probably not super surprised to see based on the type of player he is and what we saw in Fort Collins from him for a number of years. He's averaging over 10 points and close to 8 rebounds a game in 21 minutes. They are the reigning Portuguese league champions. In fact, they are the 3-time Portuguese league champions. And so they have won in 2022, 2023, and 2024. Lisbon is a beautiful city. This is actually the only one of these 5 locations that I have myself already been to. This is in 2017 where my wife Kelly and I went and spent about half of our honeymoon. And anyone who is curious about going out to Portugal, I would highly, highly, highly recommend it. It is a great country to visit.
Yeah, I think I told you when we met last month, started talking about this project and our trip. My wife and I were supposed to go to Portugal in September. We were supposed to take about 12 days and go to Porto, Lisbon, and the Algarve, which is the southern part on the water. And my wife, unfortunately, had to get back surgery. So we'll be there next year. But the other thing we've threatened to do is maybe move over there as well if we really like it. There's some areas down in the Algarve region that are very, very livable, and it's very affordable. So there's a possibility. But I've heard nothing but unbelievable things. My daughter and her husband have been there. I have neighbors that have been recently. Everybody has nothing but great things to say about Lisbon and the rest of the country. So anyway, I think it's time to head home. You ready to head home?
I think that's it. I've taken a graduate level screenwriting class before. And so rather than, being too prescriptive here, I figured it would be, probably a good thing to leave the viewers wanting more. And so, we are not actually going to let you know how we're going to get home. We might take a boat. We might take a flight and, hit up some other cities on the way back. But Steve and I appreciate you all joining us for our 5-city Euro trip. And, these check-ins with Pat and Joe were really special, Steve. Thank you for setting those up. That was really cool.
The thing that I can't say enough of, well, obviously it's a long flight home and I'll probably sleep the whole way. And I don't think we bought first. I don't think we're going to buy first class seats. So let's take a slow boat. Let's figure out a way to take a cruise ship.
I think that's
and
a
I
good
can
idea.
Sleep for a week. But I want to say how much I appreciate the concept of this show and all the hard work you did. I don't think people realize how much Sam did to make this happen. But the original concept was something, like I said at the beginning of the show. I'm trying to build a community. This is it's my channel. It's our community. And I love great ideas. And this is probably the best idea I've gotten from anybody. It was very creative. It's very educational. It's very fun. And I'm just so happy I could get Joe and Pat involved with it. Unfortunately, I couldn't get Nico, Josiah, and Joel. We could have had a 2-hour show if we got all those guys, but it was fun to at least bump into 2 of them. But I can't thank you enough for what you've done to make this happen. And I just want to reinforce to people, if you like the idea, if you like the show, hit the like button, subscribe, send me ideas. But the other thing, though, is, Sam, I want to make sure we stay in touch. You need to give me a report. I'm going away for the weekend. You just went back east for something. I'm going back east tomorrow for the weekend. You will be sitting in my seats at Moby Arena tomorrow night with your lovely 3.5-year-old daughter, right?
I will be taking selfies and sending them to you of Sophie and I. We're going to catch a little bit of the women's game, and then we're going to try to catch at least the first half of the men's game. She's kind of a night owl for a 3.5-year-old, and we have this really hard time on the weekends getting her to go to bed. And so I thought, why not just take her to the game? Because if she's going to be up anyway, this is going to be a lot more fun. And so thank you. It's going to be really exciting to.
Well, she has to do one thing. If she sits in those seats, you can behave like my wife and be like nice and kind and quiet. But Sophie has got to yell at the refs and tell them to stop blowing whistles and tell them they stink and all that stuff, because that just might be something I do at games. So anyway, I hope you have fun. I hope she has a great time. It was my pleasure. Like I said, I couldn't go, and I'm glad you and Sophie were available. So I hope you have fun. Any other final thoughts before we wrap?
I'm just hoping that some very generous CSU benefactor is listening to this podcast and thinks, I would really love to actually send these guys to Europe for 2 weeks and do a 2-hour documentary about it. And, that's going to be our next 2-hour show. It might be us on the road, hanging out in Serbia and Germany and all the rest. It would be really, really fun. But I just appreciate, like I said earlier, all you're doing. Really excited about this year, really excited about the team, really excited about the returning players we have, really excited about the new guys that Nico brought in and how they're gelling, really excited to see Neek ascend to a whole other level and see if we can make some noise in the Mountain West, which is one of the best basketball conferences in the country right now. So really excited about all of this, if you couldn't tell, and go Rams.
Oh, that's super. Anyway, thanks everybody for watching. Love to hear some feedback. Sam, thanks again, and go Rams. We'll see you later.